Hello, this is Mr. Buffington. We're going to talk about a very important property, and this is a property in multiplication, and it's called the distributive property. The distributive property, in a nutshell, means that anything outside of the parentheses, like this 4, if it's immediately outside the parentheses, there's no other operation shown in between there, it implies that this is distributed to each term inside of the parentheses. So you'll have the same thing here, 4x plus 2 is the same as saying 4 times x plus 4 times 2. So in other words, 4x plus 8. Alright, that's what the distributive property is. It is distributing whatever is outside of the parentheses into the parentheses. That's why we call it the distributive property. Kind of an easy one to remember if we use that vocabulary consistently. So there it is again, 4 times x, 4 times 2. And the distributive property can also work in reverse. You probably won't use it this way nearly as much, but just for fun. When you get two numbers like this and they're added together, you could factor both of the numbers, so we'll get the prime factors of all of our terms here. 21 is the same as saying 3 times 7, and 3x is the same as saying 3 times x. So what we can do when we have these two things here is we could take the 3 from both of them and set them that outside the parentheses, and the 7 plus x on the inside of the parentheses. Isn't that fun? Alright, so we can reverse the property, the distributive property there, doing it this way. And there are some practical uses for it. Largely, you won't use it this way quite as much, but we did that just for fun, because math is fun, right? Okay. So we can also then take this and multiply 3 times 7 and 3 times x to get our final answer to be exactly the same as the first, but let's not take things quite that far. Alright, so here it is in nice, neat computer writing. Alright, now we're going to distribute. We are going to distribute -3 to each term inside of the parentheses. We will have -3 times 4 plus -3 times 2, and we'll end up with -12 plus -6. In other words, -12 minus 6 will give us -18. If you want to test and see whether this is right or not, what we can do is actually take the numbers inside the parentheses and solve that first. So we'd have -3 times 4 plus 2. 4 plus 2 is 6. -3 times 6 is -18. You see? So we've shown that you can use the distributive property. Usually you use it more when you have variables on the inside, but you can use it when you have numbers, just like this. So here we have this. We're going to distribute a +4 to each term inside the parentheses. I'm positive 3. 3 times -4 plus 3 times 2. So that will give us -12 plus 6, and that will give us a result of -6. And if we were to do that this way, we'd have 3 times -4 plus 2, which is -2, and that's -6. So again, this distributive property, when you have two numbers inside of the parentheses, it's not usually used that way. But we can use it that way, and this is to illustrate that using the distributive property is a property that will get you the same solution as just following the regular order of operations. Alright. Now we've got some variables. Let's go ahead and solve. We're going to distribute that 2 times each term. 2 times n is 2n. 2 times -4 is -8. Alright, you notice I didn't write down all my steps there, but that's our final solution. -4 times n will give us -4n. -4 times +3 will give us -12. All right. You'll notice here, this is an important thing that you're going to see throughout all of these lessons, that when you have something like 2n minus 8, that's the end. You can't join together these two terms. This is like saying 2 times n minus 8. So we can't join those together and say like 2 minus 8. You can't do it. The only time you can join things together is when they have like terms. And we'll show some more examples of that later on. But for now, just when you have a number on the end with no variable, you can't join that with anything else. The only time you can join them is if their variable is exactly the same. Alright. Here's another example of kind of taking things and reversing it. We have 3 times 4 plus 3 times n. So we could take 3 on the outside and have 4 plus n on the inside. See? In this case, x on the outside and y plus 3 on the inside. Alright, we're saying x times y, x times 3, or 3 times 4, plus 3 times n. Alright, so that's just using the distributive property forwards and backwards, so you know it forwards and backwards. Alright, now we're going to add in a little bit of crazy and what we talked about before with the like terms. So let's go ahead and solve this big guy. 5 times x, we're going to distribute that, boink and boink. 5 times x is 5x. 5 times 3 is 15. And then we have that minus 3x on the end. Because this is a 5 times x and this is a negative 3 times x, they have the same exact variable, so we can join them together. 5 minus 3 is 2. And that will be our final answer. We can't do anything with this 15 because there's nothing, no other numbers we can add it to. But we can join together terms that have the same exact variable. That's called joining like terms. Let's do this next one. 10's by itself out here. We're going to distribute. Negative 3 times y is negative 3y. Negative 3 times negative 2 will give you a positive 6. And then we have that 5y on the outside. In this case, we actually have a y term here and a y term here. We can join those together. And we have a number here and a number here, so we can join those together as well. Anything that's exactly the same, you can join together. So we have a number and a number, we can join those together. And we have a term with a y, a term with a y, we can join those together. So negative 3 plus 5, in other words 5 minus 3, will give us 2y, and 10 plus 6 is 16. And so that will be our final answer for that question, joining like terms for our final solution. I hope you have a wonderful day and that this has been helpful for you, and I will see you next time.